Hey, this is Jesse with Mystic TCG, and I got my buddy Tom Sherrard here. What did you do and what did you play?
I made top 16 at the North American National Championship this year, 2022, and I topped with Punk Synchro with some spice in it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's just get into it. Anything that made you want to play this deck in particular over other decks in the format?
It's probably the funnest combo deck to play. You get to go a little nuts, and I think it's the best deck if you tool it to not have a lot of the bricks in the deck.
Awesome. Yeah. If you have any last remarks or anything, otherwise we can get into it.
No, you can go ahead and go.
Sweet.
All right, so starting off, 3 Foxy Tune. Best opener, especially if you draw Aquamancer with it. 2 Xiamen. 1 Deer Note. 1 Ogre Dance. This is the worst card in the deck. And the best card, Sharakusai. This card's super clutch. You can very easily OTK with the level 11 Punk Synchro and the Fusion because you sync using the Rising Carp and any other level 3 tuner into the level 11 Synchro, and it gets 2 attacks, 6300, and you can spend 2 cards back to their deck that are monsters.
Busted.
Next, we have the Brave package. We have 3 Aquamancer, 1 Griffin, 3 Right, 1 Fateful Adventure, 1 Dragoback. You just want to max out on all these cards. These are like the best cards of the format, in my opinion. They insulate your combos. They let you extend. In this deck in particular, because we play this card, they let you do full combo if you open like E-Telly or Foxy Tune into this. Next up,
Did you play the Foolish as like the 4th Enchantress also?
Yeah, I play Foolish too.
Yep.
And then the other power spells to get the Punk Engine out, 3 E-Telly.
Yep. Definitely busted.
And then for value cards, we have the 2 Souls, the 2 Illusion, to draw by sending your Fateful and your Draco back to the graveyard. And then the last card that's pretty obvious is Snow.
Was the Souls package bricky at all with 2 and 2? A lot of people do like 1 and 1 or kind of other smaller ratios.
We'll get to the part, but there's a very important reason why you play this at a higher ratio in this list. And not only can it like unbrick your hand if you don't open any of the Punk package or E-Tellys, you can open like this plus Right, and it'll get you 2 cards, and usually that gets you into your engine that lets you win the game. It's used in a combo because you need to make a specific Synchro monster to do full combo in this deck, and you need a level 1 monster on your field, so that's why I'm more focused on this card than most other builds.
Sweet.
All right, now for the spicy stuff. All right, I hate the Rose Dragon package. I think it is the worst package in the game, even unless you end on like the craziest boards. The reason why is a lot of times in this deck you have to route through Chaos Ruler. It's a combo. And I think out of like 100 test hands and 80 of them in like the 40 card build, 45 card or less build, I milled 2 of the cards and then I couldn't combo. So instead I played these 2, Plague Spreader Zombies. And then the card that is the best card in the deck, Shinobi Necro.
Okay, so can you explain that one? Because I'm sure a lot of people are unfamiliar with it.
All right, this card's gas. So whenever it gets banished by or for a card effect, you can special summon it from the banished pile, but it's banished when it leaves the field. And then when you special summon a zombie monster from the graveyard that isn't Shinobi Necro, you can draw a card, then discard a card. The second effect doesn't really come up that much. It only came up once during Swiss, where I opened a Plague and a Snow. And I did my Right combo, pitched the Plague, restack a Draco back in my hand, re-added off of Right, and then I used this Things effect to draw and pitch the Snow that was excess in my hand. So I got to hold Draco back and get Snow in my graveyard during my combo. This also lets you make 2 really broken Synchros in the extra deck we'll get to later.
Nice.
And then the stuff that won me most of my matchups are all the hand traps that I played. I played 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm, 3 Ashboss, and 3 Nib. And then I played 2 power spells. I played Harpies so I wouldn't lose the Mine. A lot of the lists I was testing against were playing Mine, so I knew that more than likely we would run into a deck that would play that card. This won't be my top 64 match. My opponent like slapped mine, set a monster, set an imperm in the Draco back column, and I just like windmill slammed Harpies, and he was like, oh yeah, I just lose anyways.
Yeah, 6 copies in the main decks of the final, so
Yeah.
maining the Harpies definitely the right meta call there.
I think that's it for the main deck.
How many cards was that?
43. The only thing I would change is I played a lot of matchups, and the one card that was bad in the list was this card. No matter what you do, you always route into a Dark Monster Renewing full combo since you have these, as well as you're way more focused on Illusion and Souls. So what I ended up understanding is that I think this card should be Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit in the main deck, so you can have a third level 3 Psychic monster to trigger the level 11 like Amazing Dragons effect, as well as having a card that is like an additional hand trap that stops right combo. Because
Yep.
I ran into that a lot more the later I got in the tournament.
Also an interruption with E-Telly to help break
Yeah.
boards.
Definitely. Yeah, I just like, there's certain situations where my opponent went in on Griffin Rider, and I'd have like double E-Telly, and just E-Telling the Ogre out, leaving on field, E-Telling something Ziaven, and then Ogring the Griffin Rider would have just like made my match a lot easier. So I think that's all I would change to the main deck if I had to change anything.
Awesome.
All right, let's go into the extra deck. Formula Synchron. We're playing the boy.
Yeah, so
The
you might have
man
to
that
explain
wins.
a couple of these ones.
The man that wins the matchup. All right. Hot Red Dragon, Arching Queen Calamity. So you're able to summon this card on your opponent's turn by having a Needle Fiber that tags into Formula Synchron and a level 2 tuner. Because Shinobi Necro essentially summons itself for free by getting banished off of Chaos Ruler, you are able to get this card, the Shinobi Necro, and the Chaos Ruler all on field after insulating yourself with 1 to 2 negates. Sometimes even 3 if you can get the Arclight on field. And then you essentially make this on your opponent's turn, and this skips their entire turn. The only deck that can do anything really against this card is Bird Up, and essentially it can just special summon Warbler, normal summon a level 1, and then make a Zeus against you. But even then, if they don't open the cards that stop you from comboing, usually you have your 1 negate still intact to deal with the Zeus.
Okay, so this is your alternative to Scythe. Do you just want to speak on why you thought this was better than Scythe as your kind of lockout condition?
This card beats Flunder on its own, so like Scythe doesn't do anything against Flunder. It like lets you make a Baron de Fleur, and usually 1 negate can stop that deck. But say they open like Book of Moon or something, you're already like wasting like 1 to 2 pieces of interaction dealing with that one card, and it's like not very good. You like Scythe them, it'll do nothing against them. So against decks like Striker and stuff that can play for win cons that don't involve needing to summon from the extra deck, I wanted a card that wins against those decks, along with the fact that playing Scythe in the main deck makes your deck way brickier. Like you have to play the Rose Dragon package to make it really good, and then you have to play the Scythe in and of itself, and I just don't want to play that many bricks in the deck. Like at worst, if I want to draw one of those cards out of sequence, I want it to at least be able to be used throughout my combo. So like it's very easy to discard like Shinobi Necro or Plague to the graveyard off all the discard effects you have, and continue comboing regardless of how you open your hand or how you sequence your cards or what you mill off of Chaos Ruler.
They're good to mill off Chaos Ruler where Scythe kind of isn't.
Yeah, you can make Baron and summon it back during the standby phase, but then you're like essentially sacrificing a piece of interaction to set up your lock, and then you might be playing against a matchup where the lock doesn't even work. This card's very spicy too. We played Metal Marcher. Use Magician's Souls and Shinobi Necro or Plague Spitter Zombie to make this. If you have the Rite of Aramasir package on field with a token and the Griffin, you use the Souls and the Shinobi Necro that you summon off of Halka Fibrax to synchro into this. This brings back the Ziyaman used in your graveyard earlier in your combo, and then you synchro into Baron de Fleur and then Shooting Riser Dragon. So it essentially does exactly what the Rose Dragon package does, so long as you open your Souls or mill it off of the Chaos Ruler.
Just none of the bricks.
Yeah. Herald of the Arclight. You can go into this if you're worried about droplets against specific decks, like Drytron specifically. This card's amazing against Drytron. If you have this in Calamities, you pretty much just stop their whole turn. And if you have a Snow in Graveyard, there's like nothing their deck can do because you just book their Boo Beta, and they're never able to fully get to a board state where they can make a Zeus and then play against you during your turn. This is the worst card in the extra deck, Immortal Dragon. This
Alright.
only came up once.
What does it do? Because
Alright,
I'm sure a lot of
so-
people are unfamiliar.
This card, when it's Synchro Summon, lets you send one zombie monster from the main deck to the graveyard. The only instance this card comes up is if you have Etelied out a Zeoman, they Veilered it, and then you have Aquamancer to normal or special summon onto your field. You can synchro into this, and this lets you full combo from there. But that like never came up during tournament. I was like practically, my deck was consistent enough to always insulate the Zeoman play or have enough extenders to continue through. A lot of the times people had interaction with summoning Zeoman on the first turn. It was usually like Book of Mooning or Snowing it. So we'll get later into how you play around that in this specific build. Another important card, Shooting Riser Dragon. This is what you make at the end of your combo. You make this Baron set up for Calamities. And then usually have follow-up off of like the right package and stuff. This is also important for Shooting Riser, so you can snow off of Shooting Riser, which gives you a Book of Moon, a bounce, and then another Book of Moon. In this build, you go through a lot more cards in your main deck to full combo before you dump the snow than I think the other build. So you're usually able to get 2 snow resolves plus a bounce. So it helps with playing through droplets because you make a board where you have 3 cards your opponent needs a droplet, and this makes it so they have to pitch 3 cards and play the droplet, so get rid of 4 cards in their hand before they can start playing usually, which usually makes it so they can't win against you on the crackback, because this deck...
Any hand trap's going to stop them at that point.
Yeah, you usually end on like 2 hand traps in hand at end of combo in this deck because you are so much more dependent on the Souls package. You draw additional cards. Also, you're playing all the light and dark light hand traps, so you're usually able to get one off of Chaos Ruler. The mainstay of the deck, this card. People think this card's probably going to get banned because it generates like infinite card advantage. You use this formula in Shinobi Necro to go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity and just wombo your opponent. Baron de Fleur, and then the best card in the extra deck, Amazing Dragon. So you use this in full combo with the deck. If you open Foxy Aquamancer, essentially the combo goes Foxy Tune, pitch, Aquamancer, summon Sharkasai, right, summon token, got Griffin, add trap, and then you synchro using the token and the Sharkasai into Shooting Riser. Shooting Riser sends an Aquamancer from deck to graveyard to make itself a level 4. And then you synchro this and the Griffin into Amazing Dragon. Amazing Dragon activates and summons back the Sharkasai. Sharkasai fuses using the Amazing Dragon and the Sharkasai into Rising Carp. Rising Carp essentially is a rescue cat for the deck. It lets you summon Zeoman and Deer Note from the deck, and then if you summon them, their effects aren't negated off of this, so you get to activate Zeoman and get an additional card to your hands during combo. And then the last part of the extra deck are all of these. These are pretty standard. Just like your Huggy Fibrax for your combo, and then you have your Dark, Selene, and Access Code for follow-up. After playing a lot more this weekend against like more better decks throughout the day, this is the only card I cut because it only came up once, and it was to get a Dark Engrave during combo, so I could summon a Chaos Ruler that was sent back there earlier in the turn. But I think I could have done it without using this card. This just made me a little more insulated while I was doing the combo. And then I think if I were to change this card, it would either be an Asa or a Nightmare Unicorn, but I'm not sure which one would be better. I think the list is pretty close to as perfect as you could get, but like the format is so open that like you can't really ascertain like what decks are the best deck, what you're going to be going up against, and what cards will be better across the board. So I kind of guessed on some of the stuff, and I was right about most of it. I was only off by like maybe 2 cards in the entire deck. You ready to move to side deck?
Yep, let's do it.
Alright, side deck, Token Collector. Sided in against matchups that Snow is like worthless against, as well as having in for Sword Soul. Easy to send off Shooting Riser as an additional card. 3D Crow. You have to have you have 3 copies of Nib in the main deck that you have to take out for against Despia, and this is just what you put in their place. Really, you do that against Striker, Despia, any of the fusion decks, any decks that rely on
even.
Graveyard, yeah, Eldritch too. Dark Ruler no more for decks like my deck, except like I guess everyone else playing Scythe and not Calamities.
How was Dark Ruler for you?
Pretty good. I think I resolved it like 2 or 3 times. It wasn't spectacular. I didn't run into a field of decks that were doing so much what my deck was doing. The most common deck that I ran into that was running the Brave package was Dragon Link. Like I played against Dragon Link, Adventured, Pure Dragon Link, Dragon Link Punk, Dragon Link Adventure, all sorts of Dragon Link variants for some reason, and this is pretty good, but the raw hand traps like the Veilers and stuff I think were way better, especially if you drew a Nib with them. They were just like super high impact against that deck. That's where if I lost the die roll, I was mostly relying on those cards. 3 Twin Twister, this card's amazing. Sided against Sword Soul to out the trap card, as well as any other card that commonly pops up. Like a lot of times they'll have like 2 set spell and traps, so like a call by and something else, and things like that. And this usually outs their back row, and then you're able to go in with like cards like Dark Ruler and stuff like that. A lot of times you're able to Veiler them, and the best they're ending on is like Token, Shishao, 2 set cards, and then you just go through the 2 set cards in the deck in and of itself, because the adventure package just plays through the one of Shishao if you're able to stop them from continuing to combo. These cards for going first. Anti-Spell and Solemn. I was originally playing like 3 Anti-Spell Pankratops, but I wanted to diversify the cards that I had to deal with, because this card doesn't stop droplets against the deck, so I wanted a card that I could theoretically stop droplets with, at least make my opponent scared of, as well as having a card that's like into the meta that's really strong. I was like way less dependent in this list off of playing Floodgatey cards like D-Barrier and stuff like that, because I was just making Calamities, and Calamities just shuts everything off. It doesn't like just do an extra deck lock, or anything like that. Like they can't activate like any of the branded spells or anything. It just shuts them out of the deck. They're never able to get to a resource engine. So these cards are just not necessarily for being like strong against the meta. It's for insulating the Calamities. And then the last card, Dark Strike Fighter.
Oh boy.
The boy.
So this card was theoretically supposed to come up if I ever was going into Game 3 and going into time. If I was at least like 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes left on the clock, my deck can combo for about 5.5 minutes. I go into this at the end of the combo, I Dark Strike Fighter them, and then they're forced to play through a Calamities after I Dark Strike Fighter them. So they have to play through a Calamities, a Baron, and any hand traps I have, and any resources that come back with like the right spell on the field and stuff like that, and deal with the 1,400 points of damage. So like essentially, instead of going into Shooting Riser, I leave the Shooting Riser in for follow-up, but I take out the Moonlight and put this card in for going into time, since that card is way more focused on going second.
Did it come up at all?
No, I only went into time during one match. I didn't play against a lot of matchups where I was super worried about going into time. I went into time against a 60-card Despia pile, and my opponent did not pay attention to how many minutes the judge signed on the match slip for extended time. He thought there was 8 minutes left when there was 2 minutes left, so I kind of feel bad for like winning in that way. But like before I like won the game, I confirmed with the judge like, hey, how many minutes extension do we have? Is like 2 minutes, and I'm like, okay. I looked at the clock, I comboed, my opponent like wasn't paying attention to the clock, and I hit him with like a huge Nib token for like over 4k damage. Like I hit him for like 47, hit him with a Plague and like another small card like a Dark or something, put him really low, passed, and he was in no way able to do a combo extenuous enough to get through that many points of damage in the time that he had left. And I think that's the only match I had that went to time, and it wasn't like a match that was close enough to time for me to justify setting in this card. It just lasted a long time.
Gotcha. Well, that is the deck. Do you have any final regards or shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to Jesse, Brady, Michael, Chris, other Michael Cambarocco, Andy Savage, all the people that helped me playtest. They helped me like refine the math on this deck and figure out what ratios were right, what cards were like bricks, what I needed to take it out. I had like the theory for this deck all put together with Shinobi Necro like ahead of time. Randomly found the card looking for level 2 tuners to see what I could like combo with, and came up with this list. And then also shout out to like the travel group. I went with like Teddy, Panda, and Ant for housing me, and Ant and Teddy helped me get in some last minute play testing before the tournament, and just let me kind of know how insane this list was after I played them.
Awesome. Well, congrats on the top, and hopefully we will see you again.
Thanks.
Peace.